For a December the 28th game in Lubbock, Texas. What a great crowd. What a great atmosphere. I was so thrilled. I mean, you just never know what you're going to get on a Sunday at 1 o'clock, the Lord's Day. I was just thankful, man. Just really a blessing to be a Red Raider and to step into a home court advantage like we have. We probably played some of the best basketball we've played all season in the first 20 minutes, competitive, shared the ball, made the right plays. And we've got a lot to grow from. In the second half, we didn't have the same grit that we had in the first half, but the most deflections we've had, the most stops we've had in a game, and playing against a great offensive team like Winthrop, I did feel like to separate like we did was tremendous, and we're excited for conference play.
Yeah, Coach. The second half against Duke, and then the first half, really the entire game against Duke, and then the first half tonight. You played your best basketball of the year, and you've played it basically with one true big and JT Toppin. Now, that seems sort of counterintuitive. You would say, well, that's just not going to work, but it is working for you. So what are the advantages that you're finding from playing from the lineup that you've got right now?
Yeah, well, I think you got to start with we've been able to, I think, fine-tune the grit and competitiveness that it takes defensively to, and honestly, you know, playing Jalen Petty and his experience has really given us a lift. I mean, we started him tonight, and then bringing Leon and Nolan off the bench, there's not a lot of competitive holes in the way we're competing defensively. And then I think offensively it's simplified a little bit more. You know, it's not like you're looking through four options. It feels like, hey, let's make sure that these options are maximized. And man, when you can play efficient basketball and then efficient basketball offensively and competitive basketball defensively, I think that's where this team's sweet spot is right now, honestly. But you can't go through a whole season like this. I mean, we're going to need those guys to get healthy. And at some point, hopefully we will get some more guys healthy and sooner rather than later. But I'm not even trying to talk about that necessarily more than I am just this group right now competitively is finding the right mix where we don't have any holes defensively. We've had some moments where we've given up some pretty simple plays, and this group isn't, and we've really making it more consistently difficult on teams, and that's to these guys' credit.
And specific to this game, I mean, obviously they came in as a very hot three-point shooting team, and tonight I don't think they even hit a three-pointer in the first half and went, 4 for 25 for the entire game. And that hadn't necessarily been a strength of Texas Tech coming in, was defending the triple. But today, you did great. Could you just talk about that aspect of your defense a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, to start, I'll tell you, it starts with the point of attack, and we felt like that they're so good at moving the basketball, and they're so fast in transition. I mean, they pushed it as hard as anybody did on misses and makes, and I just thought our urgency and our communication early in the possession was great. And then as you go into these possessions, our big problems have been like ball screen coverages at our size, like what are we going to do? We're going to switch, and I just thought we had the right amount of aggressiveness to get people on their heels, but we didn't give up angles. We stayed more compact, and we're really playing the scouting report right. I mean, our guys are paying super attention to it, and I think that's allowed us to guard the three-point line better. And we did it in the Duke game, but it's like more about picking who we want to shoot three and making sure that we're guarding the guys that we don't want to shoot. And I thought Jalen Petty specifically on Rozier was tremendous, especially in the first half.
You talked about finding that second half grit, and then Nolan Groves, he kind of just brings that. So just talk about him and that grit that he brings in that second half, even if it's not showing up on the box score.
There's not a person right now that doesn't want to talk about Nolan Groves, so let's be honest. But no, Nolan's I think what makes Nolan great is he's gotten to the bottom. You know, not very many players in college basketball, I mean, every player gets to their bottom. I mean, it just, how do you respond to it when you get to the bottom? I mean, he's used to averaging 30 points a game, and he comes here and he doesn't get to shoot. So how do you deal with that? And I think at first, you played a lot early, and then all of a sudden you get in there and only get a few minutes, and your ball doesn't go in, and you're trying to even determine what your value is, And I'll tell you one thing about Nolan is he stayed the course in practices. You saw kind of like is this going to work out about 3.5 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden he kind of took off. And honestly, I saw more fight to him probably the Northern Colorado game, and finally started to see okay, I'm going to let all this stuff go, and I'm just going to do whatever I got to do to figure out a way to help this team win, and to give him credit because he's just really leaning into the competitiveness of how do you impact winning. And he's really given us a lift. His help defense uniquely has really given us a lift, and then his rebounding. I think those two things, when you match the physicality of the game and he's able to apply that to the game. And there's no question his offense will come. We're starting to see it in practice come back. In the summer, he's making a whole bunch of shots. And then all of a sudden, you just kind of get the playing time ripped out from underneath you, and how do you respond to it? And I think he's just getting back to that place where he can go out there and feel as confident as he needs to in every possession.
You talked about Groves, but two other guys, Donovan and Petty tonight. Can you talk about how they've kind of grown and bought into their roles this season?
Yeah, no, Jalen Petty's unbelievable. Donovan Atwell's been as consistent of a player for us all year long. I mean, he's an everyday guy. We haven't missed him in practices, and he's never missed practice, and he just gets out there and gets after it. It's awesome. But then Jalen Petty, to me, what sums him up, we're in the locker room, and I told our team the second half wasn't good enough, and the first person to speak up is Jalen Petty. He's like, I got to be better defensively. Just very few people have the humility and the confidence in the fight to be that great of a teammate, to just always admit that they need to get better. And that's his heart. That's why he'll be unbelievable. He'll be as valuable as anybody on our team because of that, because he just does care. And he hadn't been enough in experienced games. And I'll tell you where he's made the biggest strides is just what he's doing defensively. I thought on Rozier, the first half, just his ability to kind of guard him physically without fouling. Earlier in the year, he's kind of falling on people and giving great effort, but giving up angles and fouling. He's fouling less. And today, he ended up with 3 fouls, but he drew 5. And that kind of shows you the game's slowing down for him, and he drew more fouls than everybody on our roster except for Christian Anderson today, which usually is JT Toppin, So it just goes to show you those guys are really slowing down and letting the game come to them and finding spots to be aggressive and not just panicking and playing at high rate, fast, hard, crazy. It's really got a composure to the way they're competing.
You talked about Petty speaking up in the locker room. How impressive is that as a coach to hear from a freshman doing that?
Well, one thing about Jalen Petty, he's never shied away from it from the moment I met him. And the moment I talked to him, he's just like, Coach, I just want to win. And honestly, that's him. It's crazy. Now, does he care about his game? Yeah, he works on it all the time. But if you ask him anything about our team, he just is like, tell me what we got to do to win, Coach, and I'll do it. Just, he's an amazing teammate.
And I know you never know what you're going to get after Christmas break. But did you have a feeling in practice at all that first half is what you're going to see from this team?
Yeah, I did actually. I was a little bit under the weather going into the week, and that's why I'm so thankful for our staff. It's not stated enough. It's like our home court advantage. Okay, playing in the USA is a remarkable advantage. It will be in Big 12 play in a league that's one of the best leagues in the world. Not alone college basketball, but our staff just is unreal. What Coach Linder and Coach Nottingham, Coach Achoki Moikobu, he's just really grown. He's going to be a great head coach. Rim Backamus, Todrick has been an amazing gift to this program. Just his belief and heart, it really is. I love Brian Pete, who does our video stuff. He's like the first guy I talked to after I talked to, my wife. I'm like, BP, he's just an amazing teammate. And it just is not Duncan Bacon, who's been handling he's done the best ops job that I've been a part of. And that's high praise for a guy I've been with Cooper Anderson, which is a legend. But I just tell you, our staff's amazing. And what Mike does to make sure what Mike Neal does to make sure our team's ready. You know how banged up we are right now, and I'm just telling you, we've got a tremendous staff. So I say that to say, if you ask me if I thought this could happen in the first half, 100% because of the preparation that went into it since we've been back from the Duke game. Our guys did not look like they were like we'd done something. It looked like that we were building on something. I think that's the difference. Looking at it like, oh, do you see what we did? No, it's like, this is what we're going to do. And our staff just really picked up the slack for me. And, man, we wouldn't have had that half, and maybe I should miss more practices.
Kind of captain obvious, but the offense looks like it just flows differently when Christian's being more aggressive, looking for his shot, than kind of funneling it to JT and let him back down. But what does that do to your offense when he is being that aggressive, looking for his a little bit more, and then getting the rest of the guys involved?
Yeah, Christian's just such a willing distributor. He just makes the right play. And so like I did at halftime of the Duke game, I got to remind him, like, you got to think score on every opportunity and then just keep making the simple play. I mean, I don't know how to say it. I mean, just go put that dude to your garden that's guarding you on his heels and make him think you could go put a 3 in his face every possession. But he's such a steady player that, he's not like full throttle. So how do you get him to full throttle? But with it being, and I thought today, he's starting to sense that motor rev in a way that he can run it the right way without redlining it and without just putting it in neutral. I mean, he's really had a special half in his change of pace and his attack, and he's just growing in that. And I think that comes with confidence. And to be honest, the way they were guarding the ball screens, they were putting a lot of squeeze on JT and not letting that ball get past to him. And so Christian just saw it from the beginning, and that's what's been awesome, is to see him kind of see the advantages quicker. And now he can go take advantage of it. And he's such a skilled player that it's fun to see his attack mode become a part of every possession.
Where are things with Tyree? Was that an injury-related situation? I know he didn't play in the second half against Duke. Just
yeah. I should have probably commented on this because I talked to Jay Billis going into the Duke game, and you know how many injuries we've had. And Tyree literally twisted his ankle the last possession of practice before we left for Duke. And we played Duke. I don't know what day that was. What day was that? The 19th, that morning, we practiced one time before we played Duke, and it was the last possession. He literally came down sideways on his ankle, and it was bad. And so he tried to prepare to get ready for the game, but we had so many excuses. I didn't want to have another one out there. And Tyree was going to try to play, so I wasn't going to make a big deal out of it. And we looked like he could maybe do it, and he got into warm-ups, and he tried, and then he played in the game, and he just couldn't go. So we pulled him because of his ankle. And then today he couldn't play. He tried. He practiced a little bit yesterday and just tweaked it. It just didn't feel like he could be 100% to what we needed him to be. And so they made the decision not to play today. So, I mean, hopefully we'll get him back for Saturday, but it's nothing other than he tweaked his ankle.
But you also mentioned the kind of limited roster you have. You don't see the gaps in the defense. You've been through this before. When you start adding more guys, you might find those gaps there. So how do you kind of try to cover those up as you get guys back and go into conference play now?
Yeah, well, just what you do is you try to limit everybody's weaknesses and try to just exaggerate the strengths. And I'll tell you where the strengths are with Nolan is he's just such a willing physical defender, and he's such a helper in the way he plays that he's given us a lift. And early in the season, I think he was still trying to prove that he can score a bunch. And I don't know if you saw today, but he just kind of made the right play and just kept the ball moving in that first half. And he was a big part of that jump where we took a lead. But to me, ultimately, just trying to get people to play with their ultimate confidence is the key. And the more we get experience, the better we'll get. And it'll take some time still. We're probably like 60% of what we're capable of. So,
and then just because this is the big talking point with college hoops now, guys with pro experience come back into the college ranks. You were reportedly in on another one, but if you're willing to comment on something like that.
Yeah.
But.
No, what I'll tell you is, man, people are fishing is what happened. Everybody's fishing for something. And if they call you and say, would you be interested, and one of our assistants picks up the phone, then all of a sudden you have interest. I mean, it's comedy. Unfortunately, And you know, like there's other programs in the Big 12 that are taking players at semester. We're just not in a position where that's what we're going to do. So if you see somebody's name out there that we're recruiting, we're not. I'll just put it that way. We love our team. We love where we're at, and we're going to try to figure out to do our best to get these guys healthy so we can make a run in conference play and put our best foot forward and keep getting better. Thank y'all.